It all began with a single statement, short, sharp, and delivered with unmistakable force. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, known for her bold rhetoric and refusal to back down from any confrontation, took to the stage. In a moment that would ripple across every platform in America, she mentioned a name most had kept carefully out of the political spotlight: Melania Trump's son, Barron. For 72 seconds, the world held its breath. The air on Capitol Hill became electric. Some gasped, others leaned in. What did she mean? Why bring him up? Was this a low blow or something far more revealing? The clip went viral before it had even ended. Millions tuned in, eyes wide, scrolling back and forth, trying to catch every nuance, every word, every glance. Crockett wasn't careless. She wasn't impulsive. She was precise, and that's what made it so explosive. Social media exploded. Did she just go there? Trended alongside Barron Trump and Jasmine Crockett. Analysts on both sides scrambled. Newsrooms lit up. Commentators were pulled from dinner tables, reporters sent into frenzies. But before anyone could decide how to feel, the truth behind Crockett's statement began to unravel. And what we learned didn't just change the conversation, it shook the very idea of what America thought it knew about its political elite. Because this wasn't a smear. It wasn't personal. It wasn't about attacking a child. Crockett was drawing a line not in the sand, but in steel. She was calling out hypocrisy, shining a light where others wouldn't dare. Her point wasn't about Barron. It was about how the rules of fairness, privacy, and media silence change depending on your last name and your political power, she reminded. America, Sasha and Malia Obama were scrutinized for everything: their clothes, facial expressions, even what books they were seen carrying. Chelsea Clinton was dragged into headlines from the moment she was old enough to walk. The Bush twins were dissected, their private moments made public fodder. The children of politicians, especially Democrats, have always been targets. But Barron, somehow, he was off limits, and Crockett wanted to know why. Was it respect? Was it privacy? Or was it privilege, cloaked in selective outrage? Crockett's 72-second bombshell was about double standards, about the very real weaponization of public perception, about the way political discourse pretends to protect the innocent, but only selectively. And as the minutes ticked on, more Americans began to see her point. Suddenly, clips from years ago resurfaced, old tweets, archived media coverage. Commentators who once mocked Michelle Obama's daughters now clutched their pearls at the mention of Barron. Those who once said everything is fair in politics now screamed off limits. The hypocrisy was undeniable. But it didn't stop there. Soon, investigative journalists dug deeper. They started to ask questions they hadn't dared to before. Who decides which political children are protected and which are fair game? Who gets to be innocent and who gets to be dragged? Some of the answers were chilling. Major news outlets admitted anonymously that certain stories involving Trump's family were spiked, not because they were false, but because they were too sensitive. Meanwhile, entire hit pieces had been launched on the children of Democrats for less. Editors made quiet deals, publishers shifted language. A narrative had been curated carefully, deliberately, and Crockett, she saw it, and she had enough. In that now infamous moment, she didn't insult Barron. She exposed the shield around him, a shield built not by decency, but by political manipulation. Her real message was about what America is willing to ignore, and who it's willing to protect when power is at stake. That's when the second wave hit. Suddenly, families of politicians from both parties began to speak out, quietly at first, then louder. They'd been told to expect scrutiny, that it came with the territory, but they wondered, why hadn't the same rules applied to the Trumps? And then came the data. A comprehensive media study, long buried in academic archives, surfaced. It showed that children of Democratic presidents were 5 times more likely to be mentioned in negative press than their Republican counterparts. 5 times. That's not an accident. That's a strategy. And Jasmine Crockett, she had ripped the curtain down. The backlash was fierce. Conservative outlets accused her of cruelty. Trump supporters flooded social media, calling her vile, classless, unhinged. But the deeper the noise got, the clearer her message became. She wasn't attacking a child. She was holding a mirror, and America didn't like what it saw. Commentators from the center and even some from the right began to pivot. They didn't endorse Crockett's delivery, but they admitted the double standard. Slowly, the conversation shifted from outrage to introspection. Why is it okay for some political children to be torn apart, but others get silence? Why does the media weaponize humanity? Why are facts curated to protect certain names? And most critically, what does that say about the democracy we think we live in? Because at its core, Crockett's statement wasn't about Baron Trump the individual, it was about Baron Trump the symbol, the embodiment of selective compassion. And her words forced America to ask, who gets to be a symbol of innocence, and who gets to be sacrificed for headlines? The aftermath was swift. Multiple media outlets issued quiet clarifications. Political analysts rewrote their commentary. Public figures who had once laughed at teenage Sasha Obama dancing on TikTok suddenly had to explain why Barron's privacy mattered more. Even some Trump supporters had to acknowledge the imbalance, and then, perhaps most unexpectedly, came a moment of agreement. Across the political aisle, a new discussion emerged, one that hadn't been possible in years. Maybe all political children deserve privacy. Maybe none of them should be used as political footballs. Maybe it's time for a consistent standard, one that doesn't shift with party lines. Crockett didn't say it gently. She didn't wrap it in a bow, but she forced the conversation, and sometimes that's what leaders do. They don't wait for permission, they speak, and they let the truth do the rest. For 72 seconds, Jasmine Crockett changed the conversation. But what followed, the reflection, the discomfort, the anger, the admissions, that's what shattered the illusion that it wasn't just about one child, it was about all of them. About a media machine that picks favorites. About a nation that has gotten far too comfortable with double standards. And about a politician who said what millions were thinking and dared to say it out loud. Music fades. Silence. Then a soft return of ambient piano tones.